What if I told you that when you fall in love with someone, it's not really about that person? It's not about the smile, or the way they talk, or their charm, or their beauty. It's about what they awaken in you, the wound they touch, the desire they reignite, the part of you that suddenly starts to feel alive again. You fall in love when the other becomes a mirror, a reflection of something within you that you haven't yet discovered. And that's why you feel such a strong pull towards certain people. Because without even knowing it, they carry something of yours. They reflect a part you've forgotten or a dream you haven't yet had the courage to live. But this kind of attraction, if you don't understand what's behind it, can turn into a trap. Because without realizing it, you start falling for an illusion, not for the real person. This video is an invitation to shift your perspective, to see more clearly what's really happening when you feel that special connection, and to realize that most of the time it's much more about you than it is about them. Once you understand what you're projecting, everything starts to change. You stop losing yourself in others and begin to find yourself again in every connection. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. That way, you'll receive more content like this and go even deeper into your journey back to yourself. Most people believe that love happens through compatibility, beauty, destiny, or chance. But what if love were a silent calling from the psyche? A movement that leads you, without even realizing it, back to the parts of yourself you've forgotten. Carl Jung saw love not as a romantic ideal, but as a deep calling of the soul, a path created by the psyche to guide us back to who we truly are. According to him, we fall in love when someone awakens something unconscious within us, something we may have rejected, forgotten, or never even known existed. This video isn't about how to win someone over or how to understand another person. It's about understanding yourself, about looking at the invisible stories your unconscious is telling every time you feel that spark for someone. Have you ever wondered why you're always drawn to the same type of person? Or why, even after so many experiences, certain patterns keep repeating? What I'm here to tell you is this: none of it is really about the other person. It's about what you still need to see within yourself. Today, we'll explore how love can become a mirror for your healing, and how, by understanding what's behind this invisible pull, you can not only stop suffering, but start loving in a more conscious, free, and true way. Because love, when truly understood, doesn't trap you. It reveals you. It sets you free. When you fall in love with someone, you often believe you're getting to know a new person, but in reality, you're reconnecting with a forgotten part of yourself. That intense attraction, that butterfly feeling, is often your soul recognizing something familiar in the other, something you lost or maybe never knew existed inside you. Carl Jung called this projection, the act of attributing to someone else qualities, desires, or wounds that actually belong to you. For example, you might feel drawn to someone confident and outgoing, not necessarily because they are, but because they represent the part of you that wants to be more open and secure. Or maybe you're enchanted by someone mysterious and introspective because they reflect your own emotional depth, a part of you that's still unexplored. These projections are not conscious. They happen automatically, as if your psyche is trying to complete something that feels missing within you. If we're not aware of these projections, we can get lost in relationships built on illusion, hoping the other person will fill gaps that only we ourselves can heal. The key is to recognize these projections and use them as opportunities for self-discovery. When you realize what you're projecting onto others, you can begin to integrate those qualities into yourself, becoming a more whole and conscious person. Relationships are powerful gateways for self-awareness and healing. And as you get to know yourself better, you can create healthier and more authentic relationships, grounded in reality, not fantasy. Jung believed that life brings people together not by chance, but through synchronicity. In other words, You attract exactly what you're ready to recognize, not as punishment, not as drama, but as an invitation to grow. And the truth is, if you look closely at the patterns in your relationships, they're telling a very clear story. The story of the part of you that hasn't been integrated yet. Have you ever considered that falling in love might be more about you than about the other person? In the end, love isn't just about finding someone. It's also about rediscovering yourself. Because every person who touches you is showing you a part of yourself that wants to be seen. And once you start to see that, relationships become a path back home. When Jung spoke about projection, he wasn't just describing a psychological behavior. He was revealing a fundamental mechanism of the soul, a way for the unconscious to find paths to the surface. And one of the most common ways this happens is through love. But love isn't the only place we project. We project onto teachers, leaders, idols, friends, family. But when projection happens in the emotional realm, the impact tends to be deeper because it touches our most primal vulnerabilities, the longing to be loved, accepted, chosen. This is where a powerful concept from Jungian psychology comes in: anima and animus. According to Jung, every man carries within him an unconscious image of the feminine, the anima, and every woman an unconscious image of the masculine, the animus. These aren't preferences or types. They're archetypes, universal psychic structures shaped by our culture, our childhood, and the collective unconscious. From early on, we absorb models of masculinity and femininity, how our mother behaved, how our father treated us, the fairy tales, the movies, the stories. All of it slowly forms the invisible portrait of what we come to perceive as the other. And when, as adults, we meet someone who seems to perfectly match that portrait, it's as if something inside us wakes up instantly. It's not rational, it's not logical. It's an internal click, a sense of deep familiarity, as if we've known this person forever, even if it's the very first time. But here's the crucial point. That familiarity doesn't come from them. It comes from within, from how much they resemble the image your psyche has been carrying for years. That's why we sometimes feel an intense connection with someone we barely know. It's not about who they are. It's about what they represent to our soul. And once again, this can be beautiful or dangerous. Beautiful when we're aware of it. When we use that encounter as a mirror, a doorway to what needs to be integrated. Dangerous when we confuse the image with reality. When we believe the other person truly is that ideal we've created, and we ignore their limits, contradictions, and humanness. When that happens, frustration is inevitable. Because no one can carry the weight of being someone else's archetype for long. Sooner or later, the projection breaks. And then we're faced with a choice: to blame the other for changing, or to accept that we were the ones who created an image, and now we have to deal with the truth. That transition is painful, but it's also freeing. That's the moment when love stops being enchantment and becomes presence. It stops being about lack and becomes about choice. It stops being an escape and becomes a meeting. Because when you integrate what you used to project, you stop looking for others to fill what was missing in you. And you begin to relate from a place of wholeness, truth, and no masks. You start seeing the other for who they are, not for who you hoped they'd be. And that changes everything. It changes the kind of people you're drawn to. It changes the way you open up. It changes what you tolerate, what you repeat, and what you heal. Awareness breaks the cycle of repetition, and that, in the end, is the greatest gift of relationships. They show you, with surgical precision, what still needs healing inside you. So, the next time someone shakes you, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" maybe the wiser question is, what part of me is asking to be seen right now? Because no intense attraction is random. No encounter is purely external. There is always an inner story asking to be told. and hopefully, finally embraced. And even after all this, love remains a mystery. Not because it's confusing, but because it carries the full complexity of the human soul. We fall in love for two main reasons. Either because the other person awakens a part of us that was forgotten, suppressed, silenced, or because they reflect an unconscious image we've carried for years. And when that image appears in real life, it feels magical, inevitable, familiar. But none of these experiences are really about the other person. They're about you. When you understand that the other person is just a reflection, a door opening inward, everything changes. Frustration becomes insight. Absence becomes space. And even the end of a relationship can become the beginning of a new version of yourself. That's the real invitation. Not to love less, but to love with more awareness. Not to wait for someone else to save you, but to notice what inside you is asking to be held. Every person who enters your life touches a part of you. And if you know how to look, with attention, with kindness, with presence, every connection can teach you more about who you are, what you want, and what's ready to be transformed. And maybe, instead of running from the pain, you'll start listening to what it's trying to tell you. That's the greatest gift of conscious love. It doesn't come to complete you, it comes to reveal you. And that's where the true reunion begins. Now tell me, have you ever considered that falling in love might be more about you than about the other person? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this made sense to you, stick around. There's another video showing up now, and it just might be the next step on your journey back to yourself. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.